Hi boys and girls, welcome to Everyday Math Lesson 8.5, Equivalent Fractions Using Fraction Cards. The materials that you'll need today, notebook paper, pencil, math journal, and your template. Let's get started. The first thing that we're going to do is go over our math boxes from the previous lesson. So if you can open up your math journal to page 195. If you're noticing that you have any mistakes, please fix those with your pencil and eraser. So for question number 1, fill in the missing numbers. So they gave us the number 1,217. So I know that 10 less than that would be 1,207. 10 less again would be 1,197. 1 less would be 1,196. If I go back to 1,217, I know 1 less would be 1,216. And then one more would be 1,218. And then I also have my box, which was 10 less for 1,208. So if you can double check to make sure you have those numbers correct. For question number 2, I need to know that there's 12 months in 1 year. Now half of 12 is 6. So half of a year would be 6 months. Now half of 6 is 3. So 1/4 of the year would be 3 months, kind of thinking 12 divided by 4, which is 3. And then 2 years, I'm going to double my 12. So I should have 24 months because 12 plus 12 is equal to 24. For question 3, circle the digits in the hundreds place. So in the number 128, I should have circled the 1. In the number 972, I would have circled the 9. 463, I would have circled the 4. 2,465, I would circle the 4. 3,091, I would circle the 0. 66,250, I would circle the 2. For question 4, there are 9 dinosaurs, 3 are plant eaters. Which fraction shows how many are plant eaters? Fill in the circle next to the best answer. So 3 out of a total of 9. So choice B, 3/9. For question 5, your answer might be different than mine, and that's okay, but I needed to draw a triangle, so I drew my triangle to look like this, and then measure each side to the nearest inch. So for my triangle, if I pull mine over, you can see that that bottom is about 1 inch, so I recorded that here, and then if I measure my sides, I have my longer side, which they're each about 2 inches. So I had 2 inches, 2 inches, and 1 inch. And then for question 6, count the squares to find the area, and you should have had 6 square centimeters. So double check to make sure you have your page correct before moving on to the next part of the lesson. For the next part of the lesson, if you could either use notebook paper or whiteboard and marker, if the speed is too fast, pause as often as needed. So for our first question, we're reviewing from our past unit, but write down the median for each set of numbers. So if I have the number 12, 47, 51, 53, and 92, can you tell me the median? Remember what we need to do first, and then what we need to do second. So why don't you press pause and then play when you're ready to check. So for this one, my numbers were already in order. So I already had them, and then I could start crossing off my smallest and my biggest until I got to that middle number of 51. Now let's look at our second problem, choice B here. This time you'll notice that the numbers are not in order yet. So you're going to need to put them in order first before crossing off. So we have 150, 200, 175, 300, and 250. Will you press pause and then play when you're ready to check for the median? All right, so first I needed to put those numbers in order. So I put them in order 150, 175, 200, 250, and then 300. And then you can see that I crossed off my smallest and my biggest until I got to that middle number of 200. We'll try one more like that. This time we have the numbers 2, 10, 15, and 12. Press pause and play when you're ready to check. So I put my numbers in order. So I had 2, 10, 12, and 15. But notice how this time when I started to cross off, I had two numbers in the middle, 10 and 12. So then I need to think about which number would come in between 10 and 12, and that would be 11. So my median for that one was 11. We'll do one more question on our whiteboard today. Which is more, half of a granola bar or 3/6 of the same granola bar? Press pause and play when you're ready to check. All right, I'm going to show you a little picture. So if this rectangle is pretending to be my granola bar, you can see half of it. And then you can see the same size rectangle where I divided it into 6. Now, if I were to get 3/6, I would get this much. Well, look at that. 3/6 and 1/2 are the same. So you should have said that they are the same or they are equal. And we'll talk more about fractions in our lesson today. So now you can put your notebook or your whiteboard to the side and take out your math journal. We're going to first talk about page 200. Page 200 looks like this. So in question number 1, it's asking us, it's saying 5 people share 15 pennies. How many pennies does each person get? And we're thinking about what 1/5 of 15 is and what 2/5 of 15. So I'll show you a little picture that might be helpful for problem number 1. You can see that I made my 15 pennies on the side, and you can see that I divided them already into 5 equal groups. So now could you answer the questions and tell me how many they get? How much 1/5 is and how much 2/5 are? Press pause and play when you're ready to check. All right, so when I divided them, now I can see that each person is going to get 3 pennies. So 1/5 of 15 is 3. Now I know that 1/5 is like having one of these groups, one of these columns. If I have 2/5, it's like I have all of these pennies here, 2 of those groups. So I have 3 plus 3, which equals 6, would be my 2/5 of the pennies. Let's try another problem, and I'll show you my visual for that second one. So for problem number 2, we have 6 people and they're sharing 12 pennies. So you can see that I already divided my 12 pennies into 6 equal columns. So how many pennies does each person get? How much is 1/6 of 12 and 4/6 of 12? Can you press pause and play when you're ready to check? So you can see each person is going to get one of these columns, so they would each get 2 pennies. So 1/6 is equal to 2. Now if I have 4/6, so I would have one group, 2, 3, and 4. So I would get 4 groups of 2. So 4/6 of 12 would be 8 pennies. We'll try one more problem like this. Question number 3. 4 people share 16 pennies. How many pennies does each person get? And then think about what 1/4 is, 4/4, 2/4, 3/4, and 0/4. Press pause and play when you're ready to check. So I have my 16 pennies. They're divided into fourths already. So I can see that 1/4 would be like one of these columns. So each person is going to get 4 pennies, and 1/4 is 4. Now if someone gets 4/4, that means they're getting all of them. So if they're getting all of them, they would be getting 16 pennies. If they're getting 2/4, they're getting 2 out of those groups. So they would be getting half of them. They would be getting 8 pennies. If they're getting 3/4, they would be getting 1 column, 2 columns, 3 columns. So I'm going to be adding my 4 plus 4 plus 4. So they would be getting 12 pennies. Now if they're getting 0/4, they're not getting anything. So they would be getting 0 pennies. We will work more on problems like this in future lessons. But the next page that we're going to look at is page 201. For this page, could you color in blue, or if you don't have crayons, you could just use your pencil, but color in 3/5, half of the circles, 1/3, and if it's So if I'm looking at number 6 and it's 1/3, I want to take a look and see if I can see 3 equal groups and color in one of those equal groups. 2/3, 3/5, 3/4. And then for the try this, we have 3/8 and 2/6. So why don't you press pause to solve and play when you're ready to check. All right, so that first one, number 4, 3/5, we know we're coloring 3. For question 5, when we have half, we're coloring 4, or half of them. For question 6, we needed to think about these divided into 3 groups. Well, I can see I have 3 different rows, and so 1/3 I needed to color in that first row, so I'm coloring 4 of them. Now I still have my thirds, but this time I needed to color in 2 of those thirds, so I should have colored in 8. For question 8, they divided them into fifths. So you can see our 5 groups going up and down, our 5 columns, and we shaded in 3 out of those 5 columns, shading in 9 of them. For question 9, they divided them into 4 equal columns, and we needed to shade in 3 of those columns, shading in 9 of them. For question 10, with the try this, I divided mine into 8 equal groups. You can see how each of my 8 groups has 2 circles. And then I needed to color in 3 of those groups. So I colored in a total of 6 circles. And then for question number 11, they already have them into 6 going across. And so I shaded in 2 of those 6 groups. So shading in 6 of them. So double check to make sure you have your page correct before going on to math boxes. Our math box page today is page 202. I'll quickly go over the directions, then I'll ask that you complete this page on your own. When you're all done, take a picture and add it to Seesaw. We will go over this page in our next video. So for our first question, number 1, what score did the most children get, or what is the mode? For question 2, circle 1/5 of the nickels. For question 3, fill the arrow rule, so pay attention to what those arrows are increasing or decreasing by. For question 4, complete the diagram and then give a number model. For question 5, draw a line segment that's 4.5 centimeters long and then draw a line segment 2 centimeters longer than 4.5 centimeters. And for question 6, measure each of the 3 sides of the triangle, and then if you can add those up to get your perimeter. All right, I'll see you next time.